Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
It's a blessing to be in this position, and we're just thankful to be here. We're thankful to have the opportunity to go out there and play in front of the 12 man.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
I didn't know it was you.
You didn't know it was me.
OB.
Captain
Aggie here on the show.
That's right, Captain Aggie.
Could you show everybody? I actually like, I told you when I walked in, I liked what you're wearing.
Want to see the back?
Yeah, show everybody the back. Baby got back. Look at that. Irma hooked you up. I really like it.
She had this, I don't know where she got it done. But,
quarter zip, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know where she got it done, but she had it specially made. Like you said, it's kind of like a NASCAR thing a little bit, but
I like
it.
I'd wear it. I wouldn't wear it with OB on it, but I'd wear it with DN.
Yeah. I appreciate that, that she went to that trouble and thought about me.
Yeah, it's nice. I'm actually a little jealous of it. So, we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk
Apparently, we're not allowed to be excited about things. I don't know if you've read social media, but there's like people who graduated from A&M maybe 2 weeks ago that think that they're the resident expert to opinions and that having any kind of positive opinion after anything positive is not worth a celebration unless you celebrate a freaking national championship, which, by the way, I do like that idea. I love the idea of a national championship. And somehow the TexAgs has infiltrated the athletic department, and we are the reason since 1939 we haven't seen a freaking Big Three championship. It's our fault. Our relationships across the way are like, oh no, I'm going to get this coach. No, I'm not. Now I'm going to get him. Anyway, great weekend.
It was an outstanding weekend
Except for Friday,
so many ways for me. So many ways.
Okay, I think I saw your tweet about this. Kind of talk to me about
the baseball team.
Baseball. Oh, 2 or 3 against the #1 team on the road. I got an opinion about that. Continue.
Softball team.
They're always great. Love them. Hey, Trish.
Didn't they sweep? Have a doubleheader?
Yeah, all they do is win.
Yeah. Then a new basketball coach.
Bucky Ball.
That actually likes to shoot, make shots.
And go to dinner.
And probably doesn't mind talking to
maybe goes
people.
to church. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about that.
Yep.
I filled out, like everybody did. A bracket
Me
on
too.
ESPN. I found out that I checked it today.
Okay.
Actually, I checked this weekend. I am in the top 94.2%, which means I rank 1,200,000 and change. Yep. That's how many people are ahead of me. How many people fill out those brackets, right? But my Final Four, I think I had the Final Four, but my Final 2, I had Florida beating UH, which I'd rather UH win. Does that make me, is that?
I had Florida and UH too, by the way. My bracket was terrible.
My question is, if you want if you want UH to win tonight, is that somehow kind of not Aggie socially acceptable?
So I don't know. It depends. I think it depends how many U of H friends you have.
Because if I have any, but
yeah.
Kevin Sherrington up at Dallas Morning News, we're friendly.
He's a Houston guy.
Yeah, he went to UH.
Huh. I like Kelvin Sampson.
And I had a boss.
I saw this.
Who, when I worked in Austin, who I thought was just a major Duke bag. Okay. And he went to Duke, and he was a big Duke fan. He'd talk about Duke all, and they lost. So I hope he's miserable somewhere.
Yeah.
I hope he had bet a lot of money on the Blue Devils, and I hope that he increased his bet at halftime.
So let's get into the big story that happened on Friday.
Okay.
Bucky McMillan named the head coach. Billy, first on that as always.
As always.
And I got a text from a dear friend of mine. He's probably listening right now. And he asked me like, hey, what's your real opinion on Bucky? Not like what you'll say on TexAgs. Okay. And I know he meant it with a lot of respect. The opinion is the same.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm super intrigued by it.
Okay.
Super intrigued by the hire. Did I, in my mind, want Chris Beard from a basket?
I did.
I said from the very beginning, I needed to know more what happened that night in Austin. Okay? That's what I said. But from a basketball perspective, did I want him? Yeah, I did. Okay. When that didn't happen, and everybody wants to be, never gives the coach they want, although we can go through many times that they have. But then I started looking at these candidates that are out there. And I understand why some people were against hiring a guy at such a small school that hadn't really done much other than in that world, right?
Okay.
The more I read about him, the more I listen to podcasts about him. The Mean Street pod guys will be here. They did one on him right as he got hired. We'll have them on the show in a little bit. But the more I'm intrigued by what it could be.
Yes. Yes.
Okay? I'm intrigued by scoring 85 points a game.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by full court press.
Preach.
All game on a make, full court press.
Yeah.
On a miss, full court press.
Yeah, I'm loving it.
Okay? I'm intrigued by a young guy that wants to go around campus, high five, invite media to the office to chit chat. Like these are all the things I've read. I understand when you're at a smaller school, it's a little bit different. Cool.
Doesn't have to be.
I'm intrigued by a guy that knew that a SEC caliber job was going to be coming his way, if not this year, next year, almost last year. Okay? I'm intrigued by a guy that everybody in the state of Alabama thinks is the next coming. I'm intrigued by a guy that people who have played for him on multiple occasions, in high school and college, we'll have this guy on the show in a little bit, think he is very Saban-like, very process-driven, will make that team practice for 3 hours and work on one part until they get it right. I'm intrigued by all of it. Are there questions? Yes. Do I have to have a definitive take today? Oh, I think this is a great hire. I think it's a terrible hire. None of us know. You don't know. It sounds good. Let's see. Let's go.
I'll tell you, David, I'm going to be honest. Because we are honest on here. People like your friend doesn't think we're honest. No, we're honest.
I think he thinks we're honest, but he thought I would clean it up.
I got to tell you something. Over the last 5 years, I have seen Samford basketball play a full game, exactly zero. I saw some of the Kansas game in the NCAA tournament, and they almost won.
They almost won.
So, of course, I'm going to tune in to watch some of that.
Yep.
That said, I couldn't even told you who the coach it was at Samford, right?
It was Bucky McMillan.
Yeah, it was. And then I start looking at just the nuts and bolts is that the way they play, the way they score, and the way they put an emphasis on offense. That to me is exciting. To me, the difference it appears when I look at the stats and the numbers, because they were like number 3 or number 4 in the country in scoring in like 2023. Mm-hmm. Lost almost their entire team. Came back this last season and was 13th in the scoring. I mean, his team score. To me, it's like the difference from what we've seen, like between we're going to like fishnet stockings from support hose. You know, one is kind of hot and sexy and gets your imagination going. The other, it's kind of dull and gets a job done to a certain degree.
It's like support the varicose vein.
Yeah, you know.
How long have you been wearing them?
Yeah, about a couple of years now. So anyway, I'm not predicting great things because I don't know. But I am, like you said, intrigued. I'm excited about the possibility of bringing in a coach that's going to put more time in his offense and put more time in recruiting than he does in picking out his wardrobe.
Or his book.
Or other thing.
But some of that stuff, not the wardrobe part, I don't care about that. I don't want to compliment Buzz but there's a lot of things I liked about his system. So this is not, because if I played college basketball, which I am nowhere near being, I was never good at all. I was terrible. But I would have played that brand of basketball. There's an intriguing part of it, but it ran its course. And this guy, I think, is going to bring something. Everybody compares his offense to Nate Oates, okay? Yeah. Nate Oates has this awesome brand of offensive basketball that, by the way, these two, Bucky and Nate, spoke about as Nate was taking the job at Alabama.
Well, look, I just liked it. I liked the fact that Buzz Williams' teams played hard.
Yep.
I liked that. I liked the fact that they played for their coach.
Yep.
Of course, now I got the feeling that a lot of guys were playing for the coach and not for Texas A&M, but that's another story. So I admire that they liked their coach and they played hard for him. And I like that they had a reputation for playing really strong defense.
Yep.
Did they really? Look into the numbers, and that's up for debate. But I can't deny it. For 5-6 years, we talked about why is a team such a poor shooting team? Everybody can have a bad year shooting the ball.
Yep.
I mean, that happens. But
every year?
Every year that you can't shoot from the free throw line or the three-point line.
Which is why looking ahead, not to look back, looking ahead, I'm intrigued.
Right, absolutely. That's what I'm excited about.
Does this have some question marks? Absolutely.
Everyone does.
Right? So those who say you guys are coping, you guys are deflecting, or whatever you think we're doing, I'm just having a real conversation with my real opinions, and that I want a huge name to take over. Yes, when that didn't work out, what are the options available? We're about to hear him talk later on this afternoon. All right? I may come away from that blown away, and I'll tell you, God, he was awesome. Or I may be like, it is an evolving opinion that I hope we all have, right? Because as we've seen, the marquee name, Jimbo, for instance, there was a real nice ramp up and then a huge fall. Schloss, huge name, got you on the doorstep, left you, didn't care for you, he left. Okay? Buzz, 6 years, he did everything he could to make that brand of basketball work. It got you to the second weekend twice, got you to the
No, it never got you to the second.
Sorry, second game twice. Second round twice, and got you into the NCAA tournament 3 straight times, but left you in a worse position than you were when he took over.
As far as the coach taking over, maybe the worst situation ever. Is there a team?
No, there isn't a team. So, which is why I go back. Are there questions? Yes. I don't know how good he's going to be in the transfer portal. He'll get a couple guys from Stanford to come over, I'm sure. How does that match up in the SEC? Is that a depth thing? Can these guys play? I don't know enough about that. But I can be intrigued and also concerned. And by the way, if I remember correctly, I think I saw a soundbite on this just a couple days ago. Coach Cal, different reputation, different history, obviously a Hall of Fame legendary national championship coach. When he took over at Arkansas, he had no team. He has more cachet to bring in certain guys. He's always brought in 5 stars. I'm not comparing Coach Cal to Coach Bucky. What I'm saying is this has happened before.
Yeah, at other places. Look, here's what all the things you said are right, and I'm not, like you said, I'm not trying to spin or anything. I'm telling you, I'm excited about a coach who has a background of a successful offense.
Yep.
Okay, that's why I'm excited about the guy. I've watched trudging basketball for 6 years. I want to see some racehorses out there.
I do too.
Okay,
I like racehorses.
Yeah. So
they're fast.
Yeah, they're fast.
That's all.
Yeah. So that's what I'm excited about. Now, there's going to be this faction that if the Aggies don't go to the NCAA tournament next year, they're going to say, "Oh yeah, see what a terrible hire." Like, this guy's taking over no team.
Well, and also different situations, and we'll get into baseball in the next segment because we are going to talk about a good weekend in baseball.
Yeah, we are.
But when Coach Earley took over, I believe the expectations were, it's a fact. Expectations were so high because you were bringing back a huge nucleus of players. Unproven coach, for sure. There were question marks, but you're like, look at this roster. We should be great. Okay? They haven't been great. Great weekend. Great Saturday. Great Saturday. Great Saturday, right? But not a great Friday and not great this season. But there were reasons for optimism. Right now, I don't have any optimism for next year because I don't have a roster to think about.
Yeah, I don't even know who I'm going to root for. Who's going to play for A&M next year?
Now, when we get to know Coach later on today, when we start and by the way, nice job to his coaching staff, a couple former A&M assistant coaches.
I'm a real fan of Mitch Cole and Kyle Keller, and I'm hoping that he'll make the move to bring Darby Rich back as the strength and conditioning coach.
That'd be good.
Darby, who never wanted to leave A&M, by the way.
He's down the road, right? Where was he?
Oh, well, I think he's right now between jobs.
Okay, he was at Memphis, I think.
He was at Memphis, and then he went to Texas Tech with Beard.
Yeah.
Beard hired him at Texas Tech, and then he stayed at Texas Tech, and then he came to Texas with Beard, and Terry kept him, and now there's a coaching change.
So I'm intrigued. We'll see. I like it. We'll see. Let's see what kind of roster he puts together.
And maybe get some guys from the state of Texas, like good players from Texas, to actually play here.
Yeah, that'd be nice. So look, I can understand other fan bases laughing at it. Okay, sure, whatever. I can understand Aggies being like, dude, we're getting a guy from Sanford? Like who? Okay, I understand all those questions. I also ask you to look into his reputation, look at his resume, and let's see if you have a different opinion once you've...
How many times did you feel like over the last couple of years that A&M would get into a situation where all of a sudden everything would stop and it would just be somebody with the basketball one-on-one?
Often.
I don't think you score 83 or 86 points a game, average that by complete ISO and all the time.
I don't care if you ISO ball, you Charles Barkley it in the paint. If you win games.
That guy.
Yeah, if you have that guy and you win games. I don't care. So I hope that this team, obviously we all hope, and hope's going to be a comment on the other side. Hey, by the way, they know what they're listening to this morning.
Yeah, they know what they're listening to.
This is TexAgs Live.
Yeah,
We're presented by David Gardner.
We are.
We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio.
Yes, again,
it's the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse of CC Creations. This particular area is the Holistic Planning Cool Zone.
It is.
And they do cool things.
They do a lot of cool things because they do things to get you money and help you keep money.
Yeah.
They do your investment. They can help you with your investments. They can help you. Tax is what?
Yeah.
Tax time was 8 days away.
Yeah.
So, you better get on it, but they can help you with your taxes and, of course, your estate planning, which can, be deferred taxing, all these kind of things. But part of that estate planning could be investing in what?
Pro sports.
Do tell.
Investinprosports.com. By the way, first you get the money.
Yeah.
Then you get the power.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say what happens next. That's from Scarface. Let's go around the room and say hi to the people. If you want to be a part of the conversation, call us up, text us up, 979-693-1150. That is the Buffy's Catering hotline. We go behind the glass. Nick Savage is my friend. He's also my director. Hello, Nick.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
What up?
Well, what a breath of fresh air this weekend was, right? I mean, I know we're not supposed to ride the high. Yeah, you can't ride the highs and lows in kind of what we do, but hey, we're all, we all want the best for these teams. So it's fun to, get a coach that looks pretty exciting. I'm excited to hear from him this afternoon. And, what a weekend for the baseball team. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to look back, at the conclusion of the season or maybe even into next year. Like, hey, we're going to look back at this weekend, Saturday specifically, that, hey, this is when things really started to click for this team.
Oh, look, I am still...
Whether that means they make the postseason this year or not.
I'm still very pessimistic because of the entire season we've seen. But I like thinking maybe, like in the back of my mind, like, well, hold on. Because all these, because you start thinking about all the things. You've had injuries. Cadence Sorrell's come back. They've been a different team.
Yes, they have.
He had 3 home runs this weekend.
Yes, he did.
Ryan Prager did not have his best outing. Okay, he usually does. How many games have they lost because there's just something dumb and how close it was? So you are allowed to say, maybe.
Yeah, the really key is this weekend series. What is it, South Carolina?
Yeah.
Yeah, you go out and win that series, maybe even sweep it, and then you say, hey, this team may have turned a corner. As it is now, we got to say, did they have a good week? Did Tennessee have a bad weekend? Or did Tennessee have a bad day? Did A&M just have a good day? Or are they finding themselves and starting to surge? And I think this next coming up week will tell you.
Yeah, and then people are like, you can't celebrate beating the number 1 team in the country because the only thing you should celebrate is like winning actual championships. Who cares,
no,
dude?
You're terrible. I like winning all the time.
I enjoyed this. I like the. By the way, we have 15 hours of content. Could you imagine if the show was just this? They suck. They're not going to win. See you next time.
There are different levels of celebration. You win this game this week. You celebrate out of excitement. You celebrate out of relief.
Yeah.
All these things. You win a national championship. I will celebrate differently than I celebrated this. I'll celebrate probably without clothes.
You will go streaking in Northgate, no doubt.
Again.
I remember when the women's tennis team did it and they won. You were doing that. It was embarrassing. There was police called, but they knew OB. He had his quarter zip on. Said who he was. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Carter Adams, what's up, buddy?
Man, what a weekend! Great.
No smiling allowed, just mad.
All business here.
What do you have for us?
So we'll start out with softball, of course. Got to give flowers to them. So number 4, Texas A&M clinched the series. Number 16, Georgia, with a Saturday doubleheader sweep, an 8-0 run rule win in Game 1, and a 12-5 comeback in Game 2. The Aggies go for the sweep today at 5 p.m. on SEC Network. A&M hit 3 home runs in Game 2 and scored 12 out of their 20 total runs in the series via the long ball. The Aggies posted their 15th double-digit run game of the season, including 6 in the last 10 games, and they extended their team home run streak to 8 games, notched their 10th multi-home run game of the year.
That was actually a topic on the show last week. And at that point, I believe it was 5 straight games with a home run, if I'm remembering correctly when we talked about it with Amanda Scarborough. But the lack of home runs for this team, they're starting to hit some home runs.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a lack of them, though.
Just compared to the rest of the SEC, they were towards the bottom numbers, but it's starting to pick up. Let's do this. We'll come back to you later.
For sure.
Carter, good job, buddy. We'll hit a break. We will talk a little bit more baseball on the other side. Then we're going to be joined by Britton William and William Galloway and chit-chat with them about Coach Bucky. They know him like
McMillan.
I think Britton said on that podcast he's known him since he was like 7 years old because he used to go to his camps. So and he's a media member in the Alabama area.
Okay.
So we'll talk to them on the other side. Right now, let's talk 1775.
Let's do.
All right. So they probably Zoomed on Friday. I don't know. However they finished the deal. I don't know if they met face to face. I don't know if he came by. But I hope when he gets off the plane today, they can't go to 1775, so never mind. They consider setting up an appointment for Thursday with recruits for Bucky and recruits.
Oh, I would think, that should be a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Hey, look, not only should you come here and play basketball in this exciting style before all these fans that are going to really embrace you and all this, but you can go over there to 1775 barbecue every weekend.
Yeah.
And get some of that, get that succulent, soft brisket, so tender. Get some of that jalapeno cheese sauce. There's probably some of those I never even had it.
Yeah.
You can get the pork ribs, and then maybe because you're in training, you don't want to put on as many calories. Get that turkey, that smoked turkey, which is awesome.
Yeah, low in fat.
And then of course, but you got to carb up before a game.
Oh, bro.
So get some of that
queso mac and cheese.
Queso mac and cheese.
And drink the leftover cheese, like gulp it down, like 7-Eleven.
Can you really gulp it though? Because it's so thick, it hugs that macaroni. It doesn't just coat it hugs that. It embraces the macaroni. It massages the macaroni.
That
massages that.
Anyway,
massages that
1775.
macaroni like a
very graphic. 979
Sean Watson massages it. Just stays all over it.
1775 txbbq.com.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Liucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Liucci sent you by.
So I don't know if this is a funny story, OB, but I find it interesting. Sometimes on Mondays, and I don't know if Nick does the same thing, I look at our text line before the show starts, and I look at, like, especially during a football game. By the way, guys, this is not my personal text number. It's not. Sometimes I think people, hey, Nuño, what do you think? Like, it'll be a Saturday at 4 p.m. It's a Brian Broadcasting text line. And I look at the text, and there was some text that came in on Friday during the baseball game.
Okay.
Not a lot since. And also on Friday, something I typically don't do is I went inside the game thread on Friday and on Saturday.
Yeah.
I don't because, I don't know, like,
it can be
Bronny and Zane handle, like, they know baseball. I do it during football, but, like, they know, like, what am I going to offer? Like, hey, good hit. Good job. But I did go a few times, okay? Isla had a performance on Friday, excuse me, and by the time it was over, the game looked like it was going to be over for A&M baseball, so I went in there, and somebody, and I don't think they were being mean, by the way, said, tell Nuño there's no more hope. Because if you remember on Friday, I just said, I just want to have hope after this series, okay? Just want some hope. That was my theme on Friday. Just give me a little bit of hope, right? Like, I'm not thinking they're going to go win the College World Series championship. I'm not thinking of it that way. I just want a little bit of hope. And it's interesting how the commentary on the threads this weekend started to change. You're allowed to hope. If you don't have hope, then what are we doing here, like, sports-wise, right? Like, I understand the history. I understand that A&M has not reached their full potential for the reason. I get all that. I still like the emotional roller coaster that is sports, that if you don't have the lows, you really can't enjoy the highs. We've had too many lows. I want more highs. I get it. But you're allowed to hope.
I hope every time they play.
Every time.
Every single time they play, I'm hoping for a win. Now, I'd rather be to where I just expect to win and even know I'm going to win, but I'm never going to stop hoping that they win. Ever. Ever.
You're never going to stop hoping that they win.
Never.
And you shouldn't. Right? Like, you should not.
It's my team. It's my adopted team.
And how dare you celebrate a series victory over the number one team? There's a bigger issue at hand. No crap. Yeah, the season has sucked. If my kid, they do very well in school, by the way, but if...
Oh, well, I understand a couple of them are all district.
Second team all district.
Well, it's all district.
But yes, congratulations, Christian and Cruz. It was a nice season because it didn't start off great for them, and they finished strong. So I'm very proud of that.
Hey, maybe that's going to be a trend.
Huh?
Starting off slow.
I can hope that my kids get first team all district next year. Anyway, where was I going?
I don't know. Hope.
But I'm not going to not, like, if my children do poorly in school, okay? Let's say Isla, no, they'll get mad I pick on, sorry. One of the kids gets a couple of C's, right? And in the Nuño household, this is how we operate. If the C is the best you can do, you're not in trouble. But if you can get an A, you're not getting a C. That's how we roll, okay? But if the best you can do and you've gone to tutoring and all that stuff, I can accept it. Let's say Isla gets a couple of C's and whoever gets a couple of C's and they're on their way to having a rough year. And then they get a 96 on the test.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Your average is only a 79. I'm not going to celebrate that until you get to a 94, bro. I'm going to bro my kid. Or do you like, hey, dude, look at what can happen when things click.
This is what you're capable of.
This is what you can do. It's this isolated incident right now. Let's try to do it again next week against South Carolina. What a concept to enjoy a moment in time.
Yeah. Oh, seems like no one at home ever got upset when I made a C. I think they felt like, I probably.
Good job, Obi.
Yeah.
There you
Good job. Hey, you passed.
Anyway, I'm going to enjoy a weekend over Tennessee, and I'm going to hope that that's not the only thing that happens the rest of this baseball season.
If they win the rest of their series, just 2-1, they'd be 15-15 and go to the playoffs.
They'll be in the playoffs.
Playoffs.
I knew you were going to do that.
I know. I can't help it.
I've been doing the show with you.
I can't help it.
All right, let's hit a break here. When we come back, let's talk a little Bucky ball.
Bucky ball.
I'm intrigued. I know our next two guests. I listened to it, all right? Very good conversation. I'm going to try to extrapolate, I like that word, more information from them.
Okay.
Because we're looking at, people try to explain it to me before I listen to the podcast. Bucky ball is about offense. After listening to those guys, it's not about offense. It's about intensity, 90 feet down the court, offensively and defensively. Let's find out from somebody who's been to his camp, somebody who's actually played for him at 2 stops. We'll do that on the other side. We're hitting a break, though, right now. Moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. When you're looking for a vehicle, we know it can be stressful. You want to make sure you go somewhere that you can trust. What does that mean? You want to be able to trust the salesperson, trust the process, and make sure you get exquisite customer service. Yeah, I use that word. When you go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet, you're going to get all that. Great pricing, great trade-in value, and an incredible experience when purchasing your vehicle. They have complimentary pickup and delivery for their service customers. And also, they will make sure that you get free oil changes for life as long as you own that vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. We're talking about a 15-minute drive, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. A short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. And we're back, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. David Nuño, Olin Buchanan here with you. Let's talk a little Bucky ball. So I listened to the Mean Streets podcast over the weekend. Really good stuff. Britton Johnson played for Bucky at Bama and Sanford. I think he also played for him in high school. I'll have him kind of say that. And William Galloway has covered him for years. And William, tell me if I'm saying this correctly. You went to his camp as a kid, right? Like as a young kid.
Absolutely, yeah. Grew up as a water boy in elementary school, went to his camp and followed him all the way through. Was never the athlete, but did everything else except play and coach for Bucky.
And Britton, if you can, just kind of give us how many times you've played for him and what, I feel like you were at Alabama for a few years, but you decided to finish your career with Bucky. So kind of take us through your time with Bucky.
Yeah, so kind of like William, I mean, growing up in Mountain Brook, we were going to Bucky ball camps when we were 8 years old. And so we can kind of speak to this later, but just his ability to build community, but then played for him all the way through high school. And then went to Alabama, played there for 4 years, played 3 years for Oats, was able to win an SEC title there, and then transferred for my COVID year and played for Bucky. So when he got the Sanford job, I think it was going into my junior year. Or maybe my sophomore year. And so it was his third year at Sanford, and I wanted to, get back and kind of be a part of that journey because I knew he was going to win titles there.
Britton, why is, first of all, what is different about the scheme or the system that Coach Bucky uses, and why do you think it's been so consistently successful?
I think those are almost two different questions. So Bucky plays the most unique brand of basketball you're going to see in college basketball because it's almost it's a marriage between Oats's, fast-paced, up-tempo offense, a lot of threes, a lot of layups. If you watch Alabama basketball, you'd be very familiar with that style of play. Bucky's been doing that since he got the Mountain Brook job in 2008. So he's been doing that forever. And so for me, when Oates got a job at Bama, it was such a smooth transition because I had played that style my whole life. And defensively is kind of where it's just completely unique from anything else, in that you are pressing the whole game. You press off of makes, but you also press off of misses. And so it's just so unique. And as to why I think, he's had so much success, it's almost a completely different reason. I don't know if y'all seen the clips of Houston practices circulating recently, where it's like guys are just all over the floor. It's like a war at practice. That was every single day in high school, every single day in college under Bucky. It is kind of almost the style that tricks people into thinking that that's why he's successful at what he does. But in reality, it is that he gets so much buy-in from his guys. And I just don't know if I've ever, had to work as hard as I did during some of those practices. I mean, they turn into absolute wars a lot of the time. And then you combine that with the fact he is the most detail-oriented coach I've ever been around. I mean, he is the most Saban-like in his approach to basketball, and that it's so process-oriented. I mean, you'd never see him more upset than when we were up 30 and we give up a transition layup for no reason. So that's why he's been so successful everywhere he's been. It's the style that makes him maybe more attractive to fans and makes it really just an appealing brand of basketball to watch. But it's those gritty details, which is why he has had so much success everywhere he's been.
William, I'm a little jealous because I've heard you mention that you get to go to his office and chit chat with him. I don't remember being invited to many offices. But that being said, he had his choice, right? Like some people are looking at this, how is he going to make the jump from Sanford to the SEC? But I feel like his name has been mentioned for an SEC caliber job for a few years, but he's been very selective. So I guess talk to me about his selection process, what you know about it, and why you think A&M was the right fit.
Absolutely. And I think the first word that comes to mind is resources. So Bucky, and I talked about this on our podcast, and appreciate y'all checking that out. Appreciate you having us this morning. Bucky has always succeeded because of the people around him, right? It's his assistant coaches, it's his players, and oftentimes guys showed up, to try out for the program, and they look like me and Britton, and Bucky won 5 state championships, appeared in 7, and was kind of dealt the cards that showed up, for tryouts. And so he took those pieces and molded them together So took all the pieces around him, right? And so I think about resources. And he had a lot of people pour in. Mountain Brook's an affluent community, lots of buy-in, lots of support on and off the court. And then that was able to transfer just 2.5 miles down the road to Samford University. So he has that community buy-in. And then you go, he puts his name in the hat for a couple different jobs, and maybe it's not the right fit, or maybe the resources are similar or parallel to Samford. And you're thinking, why would I go and restart and make a jump somewhere if it's the same as what I have right here in Birmingham, and why move and why leave my hometown and my home people? But you look at A&M, and I think he talked about this in high school, but he said, we talked about the guys that showed up at tryouts. If you look around the state, there were teams with a lot more talent, but maybe a little bit less discipline, maybe a little bit more athleticism. But if they had Bucky's coaching, right, if they had the resources that Bucky had, Bucky could have taken them to be, the IMG of high school. So he was able to develop those resources, build that culture at Samford. And I think he was waiting on the right fit for getting the support on and off the court. And you look at a place that's hungry to win. They're hungry to win fast. And they're willing to support and do what it takes to get to that level of being in the top of the SEC, which is the top basketball conference. So I think when this opportunity came about and he saw everything and everybody that could get behind him to really go up and make Texas A&M a premier basketball program in the SEC, he said, this is a place I can do it.
Hey, William, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Britton, Olin Buchanan again. Excuse me. All the things William just said sounds great and everything. And, of course, A&M aspires to be a championship caliber team. But right now there's no team. And Coach Bucky's starting at the ground floor here. How, from somebody that knows him, what would be, in your opinion, someone who's played basketball at this high level, what would be a reasonable timeline for you to think that this guy could get a team that, could be a contender in the SEC?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, we live in such a different day and age in this transfer portal era. And it's something that I guess sort of existed towards the end of my college years, but really has in the last 2 years just exploded. You remember the Calipari press conference a year ago where he goes, I'm here to meet with the team. There is no team. And that kind of seems to be the feel at A&M right now. So it's going to take a year or two, right? It's just kind of the nature of Bucky is trying to build a program and get his guys in there and not just take the first guys out of the portal that can maybe get a couple buckets, but get the right fits, get the right program fits. And so that's going to take a couple years. But, you got to look at, I think, honestly, Samford is a fantastic example for how he flips that. Because he gets there, and Samford is one of the worst programs in the country. And obviously A&M had a great year this year, but they've lost their whole roster. So it's a similar deal in that instance. And that first year, it was definitely just a turnaround year. It was a culture flip year for them. Second year was just the big improvement year. All of a sudden, Samford had the best year they'd had in like 20 years. And then my year when I came in, we won the regular season. And so it I think it's going to be a similar trajectory where that first year is going to be, hey, we're getting our guys in here. We're turning this thing around. Second year will be, you can see real build in the right direction. And the thing about Bucky is by year 3 or 4, it's going to be you're a real competitor and real contender in the SEC.
And Britton, sorry to interrupt, but maybe not even that slow, because you look at Samford and it was a COVID year. He didn't see his roster on campus in person until August. And all of a sudden, he won. People look at it, he won 6 games. Well, look at the next 4 years. You exclude COVID and all the circumstances where you had guys that got ruled ineligible because of a COVID test at halftime at a game at Furman, right? And you look at the next 4 years, and I think the number is he was number 1 in the SoCon over Bob Ritchie, who beat a team like Virginia, but 93 and 38. So everyone looks at those 99 wins, but really look at the last 4 years and look at that 93 and 38 record, 3 Coach of the Year, 3 conference titles, all those things, NCAA tournament appearance. Apologize for jumping in.
Hey, guys.
I think you hit the nail on the head. There's not like a specific roadmap or timeline. But yeah, with the way Bucky constructs rosters and gets buy-in, within 3 years, you're going to have a contending roster.
We got about 45 seconds left. William, close us out with this. So how much does it matter who the players are? Obviously at SEC, it's the most talent in the country, the deepest conference we've ever seen. I understand all that. But with his system, yes, you want the elite players, but is it about the players or is it about the system and then maximizing the talent inside of that system?
It's about the players and their buy-in and how much they're willing to buy in, right? I think you look at Samford, and Samford didn't have all the best pieces, and even some of those guys weren't 3, 4, 5-star guys, but they bought in and they worked together, right? So they gelled, and Bucky, even since Britton was playing in high school, talked about the games that matter, right? In the SEC, it's the conference games, and you build that non-con schedule to make yourself competitive in the SEC. So I think if the players are buying in, regardless of their stars, regardless of their talent level, if they have that right buy-in, it doesn't matter who's there.
Britton, actually, I lied. So can these, last question, 15, 20 seconds. The players coming from Samford, can they play at the SEC level if there are players that follow him from Samford, I should phrase?
Absolutely. I mean, I think one thing for me going from a top tier SEC school and then playing at Samford for a year was I was so impressed by the skill level of some of these Southern Conference guys. And there will be some that follow them that can absolutely compete at this level.
Awesome. Gentlemen, thanks so much, man. Hope to do it again, especially as we get a roster filled out. Maybe you can tell me a little bit more.
Absolutely. Thank
you, guys. Have a good week.
Thanks, guys. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back with a short final segment of the Go Hour before we talk to Michael Earley as TexAgs Live. Let's talk a little Snaps clothing. David Nuño here, and I love wearing Snaps clothing everywhere. I've got the flannel on right now. You've seen me in the Tailgater collection with the A&M gear. It is fantastic. If you see me around town with my sons, Christian and Cruz, they've got a bunch of Snaps gear. When they have big games for Consol, they wear nice clothes, so they wear their Snap stuff. And I'm telling you, with baseball season here, let's all kind of go looking stylish and fit to the games there at Olson wearing the Snaps clothing. As a reminder, they are the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snaps maker out there. Their Tailgater collection is built for game day with breathable, moisture-wicking fabrics to keep you comfortable while you rep your Aggies in style. Now, whether you're watching the game from home or maybe you're in attendance, you're tailgating, whatever it may be, you got to make sure you head to snapsclothing.com to see everything they have to offer. It is fashionable, it is awesome, and you're going to love it. Hey, everybody. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Rollo Insurance Studio Go Hour coming to a close here in a minute, 27 seconds.
Okay.
OB, brought to you by the warehouse at CC Creations. So, OB, I like those guys. I like what I don't think selling is the right word, but I like the way they framed it all up for Bucky Ball.
Yeah, I like the fact that Britton, who's played in that league, is saying, hey, let me tell you, those guys that may be coming here, they can actually play.
Right.
And I like what the message, at least I got it, was you get players in here that will buy into the system. They don't have to be the greatest athletes, but if they will buy in, and he's not going to bring in guys that won't buy in, that you can get really good really fast. And that's what we want to see here. And by the way, what if you get the really good athletes that also buy in?
Yep, that's exactly right. I just don't want year one to set up a longer road for them because I just think in today's world, we are not patient. We're not.
No, but you know what? They got some basketball coaches that comes in here that are very familiar with Texas, and I've always said if you can get the best players in Texas, or at least a percentage of the best players in Texas, you can win at a high level.
Yep.
Look at Houston.
Carter, we got about 15 seconds. You got a text for us at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center?
Yeah, so I just want to shout out Terry on YouTube. He says he's a former high school AD who hired Bucky at 24 as their head coach. The day has been inevitable, and buckle up, best basketball coach he's ever been around. Just wanted to thank you for hopping into the chat.
Yeah, Terry. Come join us more often, dude. You're welcome. Obi, thank you, buddy.
You bet.
When we come back on TexAgs Live, Michael Earley. That and more. John Scheschuck after that. I just got confirmation. It's TexAgs. All right, we are back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, talking a little Aggie baseball after an awesome weekend, beating Tennessee 2 out of 3. David Nuño, Richard Zane here, and now it's our baseball conversation with Michael Earley that is brought to you by Duck Camp. We know that the best moments happen out there on the boat, casting a line, or hauling the catch of the day. Be sure to check out Duck Camp's new spring hats, like the fan-favorite crawfish hat and the redfish hat at duckcamp.com. We go to the Buppies Catering Hotline. We are joined by Coach Earley here on the program. Coach Earley, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm good, guys. Good morning. How are you guys doing?
Doing wonderful. So, look, honestly, man, I am so happy to talk to you this morning because I know it's been a rough few Mondays for you this season. Let's talk about the turnaround this weekend, the line in the sand moment. What changed from Friday to Saturday?
There wasn't some big change, to be honest with you. I think that's what people are looking for, but I think there may be like a shift, and the guy we faced on Friday was really, really good. I mean, one of the top pitchers I've ever went up against in college baseball, period. And we hit some balls well, and I know we got no hit and run ruled, but sometimes when you get beat like that, it's just kind of like you kind of let loose. I think a little bit, where it's just like, okay. Like that was just a whipping. It's a way bigger letdown to lose a 1 or 2 run game, where a game like that is just more embarrassing. And I think it got to that point where I think everyone's just kind of, we were a little embarrassed, and that's never what you want to happen. But baseball just kind of got us, and I think we just regrouped and went out there and played with a looseness and just played baseball. It was a really, really fun long Saturday.
Coach Richard Zane, congratulations on what is, we believe, to be Texas A&M as a program, their first road series victory over a top-ranked program. The 180 that you had to have gone through from Friday night to then Saturday evening when you guys got on the plane back to College Station, what was that like for you? And just how would you sum up the entire weekend as a whole?
Yeah, it was. I wouldn't say it's a complete. I mean, it's a 180 in how we performed, but I felt like we're going to win every game, and I'm not just saying that. So I felt like we were going to go in there and win 2, and we did. And I was just proud of how they played and how they went about it, and bounce back or whatever you want to call it. But I just think it shows what I've been saying is true, and I know it's true. Is we got a lot of care in that locker room, to be where we're at, to lose a game like that, and then to come back on Saturday in front of all their fans at their place and play 2 and do what we did, I think just speaks to the character and quality humans we got in that locker room and how much they want to win. Like there's absolutely no quit in us. And then I've said that from the beginning, whether we were winning or losing. You got to perform better. Like that's definitely the case. But there's a high level of care in that locker room and in this building, and only we know what goes on inside this building. And that's why going in there Saturday, I knew, and I really knew after we won the first one. I was like, all right, we're getting this one. So I was just proud of them, and we've been through a lot, and a lot of that is self-inflicted, but it was nice to go out there and just play like we're capable of playing, and then some.
What can a series like that do for you? Because what can hope and results, right? When you've been preaching it and you've been seeing, you were getting close, you're getting closer and closer, but then you get the results, and it happens to be against an elite team like Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, you would think, right? I mean, confidence is a huge part of this game, and being in games like that and showing you can win. I really liked the first game of the doubleheader where it was kind of tight, and then we got that hit that helped us pull away. And that's something we haven't done, where it wasn't like we weren't going into the last inning up by, 1 or 2. We got a couple of those hits towards the end to give us a little bit of breathing room. So yeah, you would hope, I believe that it's going to, sometimes you got to learn to win. You got to get that feeling and expect to win. And that's what I felt those 2 games on Saturday. Like even when it was, we were up 4-0 and they had that inning early on in the game. And we kind of held them off. Like we just kind of held our ground, held them off. I think actually it was the second game, and you felt that momentum. It was 4-0. They scored 2. I can't remember the inning, and we just everyone just stayed calm. Like there was no anxiety, there was no nothing. It's like, all right, they're gonna make their runs. Like they're really good. They're really good in their ballpark, and we just kind of stayed the course, got out of the inning 4-2, and then I think we answered. And yeah, man, it was awesome. It was awesome for them to get rewarded like that for all their efforts and hard work. And guess what? We got to go out and do it again tomorrow.
So 11 home runs in one day are definitely going to catch and steal a lot of headlines. But in that 9-3 win, y'all stole 6 bases. What did y'all have on Marcus Phillips, and how much of the running game can we expect to see from your offense moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm comfortable with how we can run our offense. I think some of our issues in the past has just been getting consistent base runners in certain situations to be, able to run, right? And for him, I mean, what it is the game has to give it to you. Like his leg time was really slow. He's a 1.6 or 1.7 to the plate, which for those out there that don't know, that's a lot of guys on the team can steal a base. So we were going from the jump, like, do not be surprised right away. TK, you get on, you're going. Jace, you're going. I think Bear even stole third. So it was, if the game presents it, we're going to do it. So it's got to give you the opportunity, and also you got to get on base to do well. But that was just, as a whole, just scouting wise, like, they have a different philosophy, which is fine. It obviously works for them, but we want to take as many bases as possible and keep putting pressure on them.
Coach Earley, how about Caden Sorrell? Just the incredible weekend. We knew when he got inserted back into the lineup, results would follow, and it certainly did this past weekend.
Yeah, I mean, that guy's mindset when he steps in the box is very unique. It's only a few players I've ever had that it's just that. I don't want to, what word I'm looking for, I want to say like killer instinct, but I'm not sure if that fits in baseball, but that's what it is, man. He goes up there with a plan, but also with bad intentions, where I think sometimes you see him he'll take some swings where you're like, all right, man, tone it down a little bit, but then he dials it back in, but he goes in there looking for something over the plate, and he's trying to absolutely blitz it. And he's got really good bat-to-ball skills, so that works out for him. So it's just added some length, like I said before, to our lineup, and then with how Bear's doing too. So, yeah, I mean, having Sorrell in there is I think you can see why we've always been so high on him. You saw it last year, but this guy just keeps getting better, and he's not even 100%. So.
You mentioned him in that answer, Coach Bear Harrison. You also talked about how he has the ability to steal third from time to time when the game presents itself, but what has he provided to you in your offense at the plate, and how would you describe this, kind of unconscious run he seems to be on?
It was funny. He could have stole third like 2 more times before, but he's never done it. And he looked at me in the dugout, and I went straight Little League style, and I pointed at him, and I pointed to third. Like, no sign, just go. So he was like, okay. And because he had it, it was kind of, you could tell he didn't want to, he was afraid to dip his toe in that water a little bit. But, yeah, sorry. He's been great, man. Like, he's just, we knew what Bear's potential was and what he could be. And it took him a little bit to get going. But as he's going, it's not just the hitting. Like, he's been really, really good behind the plate. And they tried to steal 1 base this weekend in a first and third situation. It was actually in that inning that I talked about where we just kind of held him off. And, you're going to steal. We're going to take our out. You can have your run because we're going to keep scoring. So Bear's been huge, huge. And the fact that you can add him as a righty and Sorrell as a lefty just makes the lineup deeper, but also spaces it out even more because you got a left-right balance.
Michael, Weston Miles delivered a crucial 3-inning save there on Saturday, in game 1 of Saturday, I should say. Can you talk about his evolution and his growth there in the pen?
Yeah, he showed a lot of signs. You just know he's really talented. He throws strikes, and he's got stuff. So, like, the fastball moves, the changeup moves, the slider moves, all how they're supposed to at an elite level. Changeup is on the upper echelon of elite, and he fills up strikes, and he has a very, very low heartbeat. And if you see him out there pitching and smiling, and he's not showing anyone up, that's just his personality. Like, he goes out there, he relaxes, and he's just playing catch. And there's no moment too big for him, as you've continued to see. So his growth has been awesome. I mean, he's put on some strength in the weight room. He's just grown up from freshman to sophomore year, like the natural progression, but he's also taken to some coaching. And he's definitely our guy out of the pen. And he was wanting to pitch in game 2, actually. So that would have been after going 40 pitches, and you don't really want to throw a guy twice in a day. He was like, I'm going to stay ready if you need me for a batter or an inning. put me kind of in a tough spot. But I mean, if it would have come down to it, if a guy wants the ball, I'm going to give him the ball.
I love that mentality. That's awesome to hear about Wesson Moss. Coach, when you're facing an offense like Tennessee, you have to get really good starting pitching performances to have a chance. So what Justin Lampkin and Miles Patton did in that doubleheader, just how impressive is it from your perspective?
Extremely, especially in a ballpark like that where the ball jumps a little bit, for them just to pitch and do what they did. And even Miles, who this is what I love about all our pitchers. They're so process oriented, like all those guys. Like they know what they're doing every second of the day. And guess what Miles got hit with after the game Friday? Guess what? You have to pitch tomorrow and not Sunday. So as process oriented as he is, there's no excuse because he's a competitor first. So that's kind of a major change for a guy. Like, you know, you're rolling into Friday night and you don't find out till after the game you're throwing on Saturday instead of Sunday. Like, that changes a lot more than you might think. And for both of them, just to go out and just compete, fill up the strike zone, weather the storm when they had to weather the storm. Just an outstanding job. I mean, and that's what they've been doing all year. We just, you know, finally gave them some support on the offensive side.
Coach, we obviously saw you guys use a lot of different tools in the toolbox this weekend, or perhaps clubs in the bag. You guys used the driver a ton on Saturday, right? But one club that's getting a lot of talking about is that gold putter in the dugout. What's the story behind that, and how has that become sort of the rallying point for y'all?
I got to be honest, I have no idea. And I noticed it at home. I didn't know what they were doing, to be honest. I turned around and saw the putter, then I kind of got an idea. And then I realized that I was like, dang, they're hitting a lot of those, but I realized they're moving it for them so it goes in the hole. But whatever works, man. I love it. I love guys coming together, and I love definitely hearing that putter because that means we hit a home run, so they can keep it going.
Coach Earley,
I wish they'd move the hole for me.
Oh, Coach Earley, what about Sunday for you? Right? I mean, obviously it was an unexpected Sunday. You get to come home. I know today's back to work, but what was yesterday like, considering the weekend it was, getting back to your family? Just talk to me about what a Sunday felt like after a series win.
Those are always great. I mean, it's a true off day, and you get to spend time with family. And my son Marshall actually traveled with me this weekend, so we got back and got some rest. Just did family stuff. Went out, marched through a bullpen. Girls played some soccer. It was a good time. Good time. Watched some Major League Baseball and just tried to decompress a little bit, and then started looking at the game ahead and ready just to get to work today. But yeah, it was good, man. It was it was a late night. We got back at like 3:30, 4 in the morning, and we pull up on the bus, and there's like 30 of our A&M fans there waiting to greet us. It's just kind of a reminder that you got so many people with you and so much support. So yeah, it was definitely a really good Sunday, and it's good to be back home.
And before I let you go, I'm after doing these interviews with you the last 6-7 weeks, I kind of know where you're going to take it, but I'll ask anyway. Like, what's the message moving forward? To me, it sounds like you guys are just going to put your head down and keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, we're going to keep working, and nothing's changed. And I told him before the series, the month of April was going to define us. When we went into Tennessee, this was supposed to be a marquee matchup. And in my mind, nothing has changed, and nothing will continue to change. We're just going to keep going to work, and it's not just going to work and doing the same thing. Like, we're making adjustments where adjustments need to be made, and that's what we're going to continue to do. We're going to keep playing until they tell us it's over. And in our opinion, that's going to be for a while. So we just got to take care of business tomorrow, and that's it, man. One day at a time.
Coach Earley, I appreciate your time. We'll talk to you on Thursday.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Michael Earley on the Buppy's Catering Hotline. Richard, man, I don't apologize for enjoying a weekend of baseball with also understanding what we want to happen is still a huge hill to climb, right?
Sure.
But for a weekend, it can give you happiness. It can also give you the word that you used in your headline that I used on Friday, hope. It can give you some hope.
And you needed that, right? And I don't think you'll ever hear the players or the coaches say it, but I think they needed it too, right? Yeah. They work harder and put more effort and time, energy into that baseball program than any of us can even fathom, right? And for them to finally see some fruits of that labor come to fruition, it was really awesome to see, probably really cathartic as well. Now, I saw you Friday night after the game, right? We were up here, you guys were doing your luchador after the Bucky McMillan news went, and that was a tough day. It was a really, obviously a tough day. You get no hit and ruled in the same night. Like, that might have been one of the worst games that A&M had played in a very, very long time, any sport. And for them to rebound, like I said, complete 180 on Saturday, mash the cover off the ball, hit 11 home runs across 2 games, and take not 1 but 2 games from the nation's top-ranked team, the defending champions, in their ballpark, that's huge. And as you said, it's still an uphill climb. There's still a long way for this ball club to go to get back to being where they want to be. And that's on the right side of that bubble when it comes down to Memorial Day and the NCAA selection show. But they've taken the first step, right? They have shown that a turnaround is still possible. They have given the fan base and themselves reason for optimism and reason to be hopeful. And now, like you just said, one day at a time. Next day is Tuesday in Huntsville, and then a 3-game series with South Carolina on Thursday. And once again, because of what A&M's done through their non-conference in the first 3 weekends of conference play, every single weekend from this point out, from before they went to Knoxville, moving forward, it's going to be must-win.
Yep.
So that makes this weekend just as important as last week.
Yeah, absolutely. And just last thing for you, the thread. How did it evolve from Saturday morning? Because I got to imagine like the pessimism, the negativity to like, wait, they may win this freaking series to, oh, they're going to win this series.
Yeah, so they won that first game on Saturday, and I started my thread, and I'm kind of like, I'm post and go, so I'm just going to give you guys the facts. Here's what's happened. I'm going to get out of the way and let you guys do your own thing. And then things went well. The positivity, you could see the worm kind of turn, and then when we start that second thread for Game 2, Bear Harrison hits that 3-run home run in the first inning, and it's like, oh, wait, oh, crap, they might actually do this. And then the fourth and the fifth inning, they hit 3 home runs in both the fourth and the fifth. That was just mind-boggling. Like, I don't think anybody could actually believe it. It was very much a what the heck is happening right now kind of moment. So that was really awesome to see. And it was nice to see the returns on other threads. That other posters were starting, actually positive for a change. And right, they have to give you reason for positivity, and they certainly did that. But it was a nice reprieve from the constant hyper-negativity we've had to deal with for the first month and a half of the season.
Yeah. Thank you, Richard. Appreciate it. Good work this weekend. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back. John Scheschuck will provide some thoughts. He actually texted me yesterday about how excited he was to talk Aggie baseball. I wonder why. We'll talk about that on the other side. Right now, keep water local. Look, guys, it's not just anybody's water. We're talking about our local water. That's why it's called Keep Water Local. Water in Brazos and Robertson County is being affected right now. It's not just the water that comes out of your tap. I'm talking about the lifeblood of everything we love about this community. Out-of-state interests are eyeing our water, threatening our community's future. And that's why I'm asking you to consider Keep Water Local. It's a group of neighbors fighting to protect what matters most. If you care about this community, and I know that you do, it isn't just about water. It's about preserving our farms, our businesses, and the Aggie spirit that makes this place so, so special. Losing control of our water means losing our future. Want to make a difference? Head to keepwaterlocal.org. Get involved. Let's keep our water right here where it belongs, local. It's Keep Water Local. And we're back, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Last night, the kids and I and Elizabeth are watching Daredevil, episode 3, I think it was, and John Scheschuck texts me, and I'm like, oh, what does he want to talk about? And he's like, when are we doing radio? And we're doing radio right now on the Buppy's Catering Hotline. Sheshi, what's up, buddy?
Hey, man, how you doing? Good to see you today.
Good to see you. So, look, man, I am super excited to talk to you because I could feel the enthusiasm. And now, look, I know there's a segment of our fan base like, hey, they got way more big things to worry about than just winning one series. Absolutely. But for a weekend, what made you so excited and intrigued? What was it?
Well, you know this. When you're there and you see that in person, it's a lot different than watching it on TV or listening to it on the radio. And, of course, I was on the call with Monaco, so I had a front row seat to the whole thing. But just being around that team all weekend, David, and just seeing the energy that Coach Earley was just talking about and their consistency, and then watching that shift from getting whipped to absolutely taking Tennessee to the woodshed and just dominating them was really exciting for me to watch. And Coach Earley is super humble, but I watched him really manage his way into that doubleheader sweep. And we can talk a little bit about that more, but he got a lot more aggressive. I could see him vocally down there. I could see his body language, and his decision-making on the field just directly impacted what happened there on that Saturday. And that was a lot of fun to watch.
Is it fair to say on this weekend he outmanaged Tony Vitello?
I said it on air, and I'll say it again. He absolutely did. And you heard him talking about, some of the hold times and the 1-6 to the plate that he was discussing. And they used that to their advantage, but you saw the small ball that they were able to, implicate and really successfully execute. And they just changed their mindset from we're going to sit around and wait for the 3-run homer to we're going to force some action. And Vitello and the Vols really had no answer to that. And here's what's funny about it, David. They kind of went that small ball base running, let's do the little things type of approach. And that led to 11 home runs. Isn't that interesting how that works? You take a little bit of a shift in your philosophy. And again, they've had the same philosophy. They're going to give what Tennessee, they're going to take what Tennessee gave them. But when they started playing that style of baseball, the home runs started launching out of the yard.
Is there anything offensively this weekend that says, all right, it's not going to be an isolated incident because I saw XYZ developing? Or are you still like, I don't know, man?
No, I think, and again, I told Andrew this on the air. I watched their BP on Saturday, and everybody knows what happened Friday night. That was a tough thing to swallow for an Aggie fan and for those guys on the roster and the coaching staff. But on Saturday, I could sense that different type of energy. I talked to Barry Harrison before the game, and he said, man, we're going to hit today, because I was talking to him specifically about himself. And he said, I said, you're locked in. He said, I am locked in. I'm seeing it good. He said, but more importantly, we're going to hit today. So there was an energy. And again, I credit Michael Earley. I don't know what he said to him on the bus after the game Friday. He kind of alluded to embarrassment there in your segment with him this morning. I got a feeling that's what he said to him. It was like, guys, that was embarrassing. But it's time to turn the page and go get after it. But they showed up from breakfast on Saturday to the BP session on Saturday to the first part of that game on Saturday, and they were ready to go, man. They meant business, and obviously the results followed.
Did it feel like, and I'm sorry for using this analogy, a funeral on Friday, or did it feel like, man, this was terrible, throw that out, but we still got 2 to go?
Probably felt more like a funeral for me as a longtime A&M baseball fan, and probably a lot of fans. But I think that team stayed calm, and that's another thing about their resolve. Even getting on the plane with them on Thursday, their demeanor was very businesslike. There wasn't anybody moping around. I mean, they were going there to win a baseball series, and it's crazy how they were still able to do that after that Friday night. But no, there was no quit in those guys. There was nobody, holding their heads down low. They really did the opposite of that and showed what they were made of on Saturday during that doubleheader.
We'll never know what this team would have played like with a healthy Caden and Gavin to start the season, and Josh Stewart. We'll never know that. But knowing Caden Sorrell back in that lineup, what it has done, talk about just him at the plate and how it has affected the entire lineup.
Yeah, I mean, the energy that guy brings to the middle of that lineup is just awesome. Of course, he's another left-handed bat, which is always welcomed. But like Coach Earley said, he is an assassin up there. I mean, he's there to mean business. And it's weird because you add him And then all of a sudden, everybody around him gets better. It's so weird how sports works that way. But again, he was a huge addition for this team this weekend. Man, he hit all weekend long, and he was able to do it despite that hamstring issue, which hopefully day after day and week after week that gets better and he gets to full strength before season's end.
John, what does hope do for a team that has, it's got to be weird for them because the core group has proven they can play at this extremely high level. They hadn't done it yet this season. But this is not like a team that has always been bad, right? This is a team that came in with number one expectations, had an out away from or an inning away from winning a national championship to this year. Everything they did didn't stick to the wall. Finally, something. What does that do for potentially the remainder of the year?
Well, that's everything. I mean, confidence is everything. And I want to go back to the beginning of the season. This is just my opinion, but I think Michael Earley's mindset coming into this season was, I am going to let these guys do what they do. Again, this is just my opinion. I'm going to let these guys do what they do. And I think that roster felt the pressure, David, of this is our guy. We wanted him to manage this team. And you guys have talked about the differences in the team, the actual roster year over year, if that's true. But I think those core guys were feeling that pressure. And again, I have no evidence of this. This is just my opinion. And I think what you saw this weekend was Michael Earley, his confidence level as a manager going toe-to-toe with the defending national champions. He shifted from, okay, I now see that I am going to not force the issue, but I'm going to instill my own will on this ball club here. And my opinion is when that shift happened, then you saw the players kind of relax and say, okay, Coach Earley's got this. All the pressure that the players were putting on themselves was now released. And then you got that hope and you got that confidence, which led to a total domination. And again, in person, seeing that, David, they absolutely dominated Tennessee. Tony Vitello had no answers. I saw him barking at his own bench when he went to get Phillips in the first game on Saturday. He was going out to get the pitching change, and he's barking at his own team. He's flustered. They had no answers. They were throwing the ball around, and we started doing small ball on them. We're stealing bases. They have no shot to stop it. I mean, all those decisions that Michael Earley was making to initiate his team, they worked. Even to the end when he pinch hit Hayden Schott. He pinch hit Hayden Schott at the end, and he got a hit with a couple of RBIs. So it just worked, and hope was a big part of that, and we'll see how that continues forward in the season.
John, I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much for your time. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, you too, man. John Scheschuck, he'll be more regular now that basketball season's over. We'll be chatting with him often. We'll hit a break here. We'll come back with Tom Hart. He was on the call Friday. I know. Or was it Friday? Yeah, it was Friday. Not on Saturday. So we'll talk to him about that. We'll talk to him about Buckyball, NCAA championship tonight between Florida and not Auburn, my God. Florida and U of H. We'll talk about that on the other side. Daily Company is a family-owned and licensed insurance business. They offer HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and generator services available 24/7. And their services include, as I mentioned, HVAC, thermostat repairs. They'll take care of leaks, furnace failures, seasonal tune-ups, plumbing, leak repairs, clogged drains, water heater installation, maintenance to pipes, electrical wiring, outlet repairs, generators, repair, maintenance, installation. They serve College Station, Houston, and Austin. Upfront pricing with no surprises. Contact Daily Company at 979-260-2020. That is 979-260-2020. Or visit them online at godaily.com to experience the daily difference. As a reminder, the final segment of the program brought to you by Double Dave's. That's at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. And as a reminder, they are not open on Mondays. All right, let's go to the hotline, the Bucky's Catering hotline. That's where Tom Hart from the SEC Network joins us in ESPN. Tom, look, I'm not trying to pick a fight here, but I know that you were on the call on Friday and things sucked. And then you weren't on the call on Saturday and things. So I'm just kidding. What's up, man?
You probably get into this situation sometimes. You're a big, strong guy. Like, your wife ever ask you to loosen the lid of the jar? You know, he's got, you maybe don't get the lid all the way off, but if you loosen it, I figure you did the job. And, maybe me and KP and Berkey loosened that lid on Friday, and then they opened up an entire can on Saturday. That's for sure. 11 home runs in those 2 games. What an amazing turnaround.
Yeah, it was a great turnaround. And so I kind of want to take, because I know you weren't on the call Saturday. Friday, I asked John Scheschuck, who was on the A&M call, if it felt like a funeral for A&M season. And it kind of did, because Billy and I were recording our luchador about Bucky McMillan being the head coach, and I'll ask you about him in a minute. And then Saturday happens, and you're like, there's hope again, right? So just kind of talk to me what Friday felt like, and then catching up later Saturday that they actually won the series and double-digit win, 17-6 on Saturday, the third game.
Well, I just think that when I saw those scores come in Saturday night, I thought, this is how the aircraft carrier gets turned. It takes a while to get that thing turned around, but this is the sign that it has turned. And I think offensively, that was the biggest thing. Think back to Friday's game. 10-0, no hit, obviously. You're facing a great pitcher, but I don't think he's Paul Skeens. I think he's a Friday night SEC ace, but should you get no hit? I don't know. I mean, Kyle Simon's no hit a really good Vanderbilt team. Like, sometimes the pitcher just has it, and you catch a team that's, half awake, which seemed to be the case, and you just mow through them. But of those 10 runs allowed, 8 of them would not have scored if A&M just fields the ball and throws the ball cleanly, right? Do you feel better about a 2-0 loss if you get no hit? I don't know, maybe a little bit. But I left that night, and I thought, I guess this is it, right? I mean, I guess you go ahead and order the tombstone for this season. Chris Burke reminds me that that's what happened to the Astros in 2005 before they won the World Series. The Houston Chronicle actually had a tombstone on the front of the sports page saying, "Here lies the Astros season." And I think that was May 1st or maybe even June after a slow start. They turned it around. So I don't know how exactly it happens. All I know is that we spent time with Mike Earley on Friday morning, and we talked about culture, and we talked about confidence, and we talked about battling and competing. And he said, listen, I don't know everything that's being said outside the building, but I know how we feel inside the building. And we feel like we're doing the right things. We're moving in the right direction. And the guys feel that same way. It's just a matter of executing. And then they go out Friday night, they don't execute defensively, which allows you to allow 8 unearned runs, I think was the total. But I left that meeting emboldened by the confidence with that coaching staff, with Mike specifically, because it was like, hey, man, like, I'm a competitor. We're going to go out there and absolutely battle. And so, as long as we execute, we can find some wins. And they certainly did that in the doubleheader.
Tom, a couple things about what you just said there. First off, the Astros in 2005, they ended up losing to the White Sox, but I remember it in the World Series. But I remember that line in the sand moment from the Chronicle. And also, a few years before that, about 10 years before that, the Rockets they choked away a couple of games against the Phoenix Suns the year that they won their first championship, and the Houston Chronicle put Choke City. After that, the Rockets were resilient, and they closed out. So I'm hoping that happens with this Aggie baseball team. And the insurmountable deficit that they have in the SEC. Look, I understand that they're going to have to play that brand of baseball, what you saw on Saturday, the rest of the way against everybody, and that seems impossible. That being said, when you have a weekend like that against the number one team in the country, who was number one for a while, by the way, who just won the national championship not long ago, it can be a point for the rest of the clubhouse to be like, we can do this, guys.
Yes, absolutely. And is it sustainable against the level of competition that remains on the schedule? To your point, that's going to be very hard to sustain and win every series. But I think there is growth to come from this. And it's interesting because there are roadblocks you run into as a first-year coach. And when we talked with Tony Vitello before the series, I said, hey, and a lot of times coaches won't do this, but Tony shares everything. I said, can you kind of give us your perspective on where A&M is right now? Because it's a team you just played for the national championship a few months ago. And he said, I don't know the specifics of what's going on within their clubhouse, within their locker room. He said, but I know the mistakes that I made as a first-year coach, and I know that I was allowed growth and I was allowed time to push through those mistakes. Tony was a longtime assistant, just like Mike was before getting this job. And he said, any first-year coach, you need time to learn on the job, and you need time to grow, and you need a staff that is going to support you, and that you can turn to the guy to your right and get in-game help immediately, and they need to know when to speak with you, and they need to allow you to make mistakes. And he said, my secret at Tennessee to build into what they built in 3 out of 4 trips to Omaha now is my staff was patient with me and allowed me to make mistakes as the head coach, and then you grow from there. And I think the players see that same thing, and that's why I think, if not a harbinger of what's to come, that could be a tremendous jumping off point for this program to say, listen, everything this guy has been telling us, it came to fruition. We just took 2 out of 3 from the number one team in the country, the defending national champs, in their sold-out ballpark. And I think the way they did it with the bottom third of the lineup performing, Ben Royo going yard twice, I think that is even more enlightening.
Tom, Bucky Ball's coming to College Station. Tell me your thoughts when you heard about him potentially being the hire. Maybe you knew a lot about him. A lot of us were just trying to get to know the information. And, maybe after a little bit of research, what you think?
I think there's a wide variance to where this thing could go. And I think at the high end, and that you could draw similarities to what Nate Oates has established at Alabama. But, what are the comparisons? Well, 5 years ago, Bucky was a high school coach. Nate Oates was a high school coach in Romulus, Michigan, just a second ago. Before then, he went to be an assistant with Hurley and took over Buffalo after Hurley left. And so there are those comparisons and the style of play comparisons. And I think when Nate took over Bama, there were some people who said, gosh, I don't know if that style will work in this very physical league. And to be sure, the physicality was the biggest roadblock for Alabama this year, especially on the interior. I look back at their near win at Michigan State this year, Samford. They really did a great job of coming out and playing their style, and they knocked Michigan State in the mouth. They jumped out to a 21-9 lead. They employed 3 different full court presses, right? It's not just that they press. This A&M team is going to be an absolute pain to prepare for because nobody does that. Nobody plays that style. Bama plays fast. They get up and down, and they go 3s and 2s, and Bucky's going to lean on 3s. And I think any roadblock to having great talent on the floor based on when you take over and the recruiting hurdles that you may run into, those are lessened by the fact that you can win with lesser athletes with this style. The challenge will be then once you get SEC caliber players in there, can you compete and still win against high-level athletes playing this top 5 tempo and shooting as many 3s as they do? Alabama would be an indicator that you can.
Tom, let's close out with the game tonight. U of H has been a really nice story. I love Kelvin Sampson. Florida, they were my pick to win it all whenever I filled out my brackets. Just the way they were playing basketball, and they're an easy pick, right? The way they finished the SEC tournament. What do you think about tonight?
Yeah, I think Florida's won 17 out of 18 now, something along those lines. By the way, I think A&M broke Auburn. I really do. I think after that game, and I told you this that next Monday, there was concerns with the Auburn coaching staff about the toughness of their interior players, and that's where Florida won the game. Walter Clayton is amazing, and he has been, and he deserves all the flowers. But to shut down Janai Broome, whether he's 100% or not, and the wave of 7-footers they threw at him, I think Walter Clayton has another big game tonight. I think some of the other backcourt players have not played great for Florida. could do the same thing. The question is, what I've loved about Florida all year, Dave, is they can win playing different styles. And so I think they can win a physical game. My only request, if Houston does win, and I just saw this a moment ago, can we allow Elijah on the floor, please?
Oh, yeah. That was ridiculous.
I appreciate people who do their job. Could you apply some common sense to your job? Nobody without this credential is allowed on the floor. I understood, sir, but it's Akeem Olajuwon. It's the dream. It's Phi Slamma Jamma. Fire me if you want to fire me, but I allowed him on the court. Come on.
I think there are certain people that are what the identity of a program. Guy V. Lewis and Akeem Olajuwon are the identity of U of H basketball. Kelvin Sampson's about to put his face on there as well, right?
He's going to end up with a statue. I mean, what that program was, and I went to Hofheinz during the CUSA days. You were in there.
Yep.
What a dump. And a program, respectfully, that had no upward trajectory at all. I mean, they had all the possibilities in the world just to wither away. And he got in there, and it was him and his daughter running the marketing and his support from his family. And they said, we can turn this into something. Hey, Fertitta, write a couple checks. Let's turn some lights on in this building. Let's get rid of the rats. Let's recruit great talent. And they did it. And I loved his comment after the semifinal win. We did this in the Big 12. It's not like we did this in a crappy conference. Give us the credit that we deserve. And by the way, we think that sometimes midseason games don't matter. Their 6-point comeback against Kansas with under a minute to go, I think, set the stage for what they were able to accomplish the other night, because they never give up and they battle and they never seem to get rushed. And he is absolutely a Hall of Fame coach.
Tom, I appreciate you, brother. Thanks so much for your time.
All right, David. Thanks, man.
See you, man. Tom Hart on the Buppy's Catering Hotline. We'll hit a break. Around Aggieland coming up next. Right now, let's talk about Rollo Insurance. You're good at what you do. Rollo's very good at what they do. So why not be good together? Okay, that was cheesy. But that's what I have found out is by using Rollo Insurance, they're the best, right? And I know thousands of other Aggies in this community have also found out about. Tens of thousands of Texans have found out, right? They are the absolute best when it comes to taking care of your insurance situation. So if you have farmers insurance, car owners insurance, homeowners insurance, whatever insurance you need, let the Rollo Insurance Group take care of you. And there are multiple ways to do it. They got 60 offices in Texas. They're all over the country. We'll call them up, 888-44-ROLLO. That's 888-44-ROLLO. Go to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. That is rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. All right, we are back. It's time for Around Aggieland. That is presented by Normandy State Bank. Normandy State Bank, rock solid banking. The website is normandystatebank.com. And with that, we have Kaylee Dreyer in the house.
Good morning.
How was Chili Fest?
It was fun.
Yeah?
Glad it was my last one.
Was it like just a traffic nightmare?
Yeah, it was freezing.
Oh, yeah. The weather this weekend was not fun to be outside. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do we have on Around Aggieland?
We had exciting news this weekend for all Aggie sports. Starting with the Diamond Sports, number 4, Texas A&M softball run-ruled number 16, Georgia, 8-0 in 6 innings in Game 1 of their doubleheader. In this game, Emily Kennedy registered her 500th career strikeout, she became the 10th Aggie to do this. Trisha Ford's team will now face their last game with Georgia today at 5 p.m. And baseball had a great weekend, winning the series against number 1 Tennessee, hitting 11 home runs and outscoring them 26-9 in 2 doubleheader games. The series victory marked Texas A&M's first ever against a number 1 team on the road. And moving on to track and field, the men's 4x400 relay team took the world-leading time in the event on the final day of the Florida Relays, along with many other accolades from both the men and the women. And lastly, the number 2 ranked women's tennis team continues to win as they took down Mississippi State 4-0 on Friday and Alabama 4-0 on Sunday to earn their 6th and 7th sweep in the SEC play and 67th consecutive win at home.
Awesome, Kaylee. I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. I made a comment to you, Carter, earlier. I was like, it's amazing Negative Nancy didn't make an appearance today.
Oh, I know.
Like usually Negative Nancy sends several texts under different names.
Yep.
But Negative Nancy, I mean, I'm sure now that I've asked for Negative Nancy to respond, she will. But I haven't seen Negative Nancy. I keep saying her name, too. I haven't seen her show up, right?
No.
What have you seen on the text line?
So we've got a lot of love for Bucky Ball, obviously.
Okay.
All love around the office. But Drew on YouTube says, glad to see Bucky got such a favorable response from the 12th man. Added a coach with style that is easy to get on board with.
Like, sometimes people don't want to have just like a frank conversation about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is, an unknown can be a great hire. An unknown can be a horrible hire.
Mm-hmm.
What intrigues me about him is everything we've talked about today. The offense, the way he's going to press, the way he's going to engage the fans. There's a lot to, and the things that I'm concerned about, which we'll talk to with Billy about, is the roster. How long is it going to take? We don't have 3 years to build, right? I don't think you can in SEC basketball. We'll talk about that on the other side. It's TexAgs Live. We're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. I'm sure we'll call Billy here up in a minute, but I kind of wanted to go back to one of the commentaries that Tom Hart had about the Astros 05 team. They didn't end up winning the World Series. They got swept by the White Sox that year in 05, but I remember that headline in the Chronicle, and I'm just like, look, good things happen, bad things happen, media reaction, social media reaction, like it doesn't necessarily change what happens on the field. But I hope, like, as people were preparing, again, hope. I use that word a lot. And at this point of the season, Carter, all I can do is have hope, right? Mm-hmm. Because if not, the conversation becomes, really boring. Baseball is the good. Like, look, I wanted it to work out for Coach Earley. I wanted it to work out for those players. I want to see what happens if they turn things around. What if, right? And I understand that we cannot expect what happened this week. We can't expect it the rest of the way, right? But Billy's calling me. Maybe we should call him. Should I take the call on the line? Probably not. He'll get mad at me. Anyway, in my opinion, like, where was I going? I forgot what I was talking about.
Talk about hope. That's the...
Yeah, but I know it's going to be very difficult to do what they just did, right? With Arkansas coming up, Texas coming up, LSU. I get all that. South Carolina this weekend. But what happens to us, to the text line, to the fan base, if, and a big if they do win this series against South Carolina? Is it Arkansas after that, right?
Yep.
Number one team of the country, right? What happens then? You've already proven you can beat the number one team of the country. You got to go to Arkansas, so let's go to the Buppy's Catering hotline. I believe this is Billy Liucci on the line. Billy, I don't know if you know I was doing a radio show.
Yeah, I did know. Why? Why'd you say did I?
Oh, because you called me during the segment.
Oh, yeah, no. I meant to text you and say phoner, and instead I called
you. Okay. How are you doing, buddy?
Done a good, and that's what we're on the phone right now. We could have just done it the old-fashioned way.
Well, we're going to do it the old-fashioned way. How was the weekend, especially considering how busy it was and Aggie sports looking really good?
Yeah, I mean, softball keeps rolling, right? And then baseball, that was – and we'll talk a lot of basketball today, I'm sure, too. No games, but a lot of activity. But, man, that baseball series was something, wasn't it? I mean, you never know where it's going to go. For them to go from getting no hit and run ruled by the number one team in the nation on a Friday night on the road, I won't be the first one because I'll have an army with people to raise your hand and think, man, that had road sweep written all over it, and just kind of, I think I saw someone from one of these national baseball things. And I wouldn't say that I disagreed, so this might be the nail in the coffin for A&M's hopes of even postseason, for their whole season, basically. And, you wouldn't have got a lot of pushback from, I think, anyone that's been watching the team outside of the fact that you're going to them, but they were really hitting a lot better till that no-hit. That's the only little thing you could have said, but you almost would have had to agree, like, man, that might do it. They got 2 more games against Tennessee. They get no hit. The Vols didn't have to touch their bullpen. They got all the momentum in the world. This is, these are 2 teams that traveling in completely different directions since the last time they shared the diamond together. And then, like, the unthinkable happened. And by unthinkable, I don't mean winning 1. That seemed daunting enough, but winning 2 and then doing it, what they win 9-3 and 17-6 to outscore them, 26-6 or 26-9 in 2 games it's just unheard of to do it there and to hit 11 home runs on Saturday. Just an incredible about face. I don't know when I've seen something like that. I mean, I guess a comparison, David, would be beating Alabama with Zach Calzada after losing to Arkansas and Mississippi State. And you go up to Arkansas, get beat up pretty good. You play Mississippi State and stink up the field at home. And then in comes Alabama and you beat them. And then look, that Alabama team was better. I think this Tennessee team is rebuilt a little bit itself. They're number one. And to just kind of come from out of nowhere to beat number one. And now the question, obviously on everyone's mind, and two questions are, is it too late? And can you build on this momentum? Because it is real momentum. And anyone that says otherwise, it doesn't guarantee they're going to sweep South Carolina this weekend or even win a game. But they're feeling good. They're seeing the ball good. They're taking great cuts all of a sudden. And so if you don't think that can carry on and that confidence, then you don't know baseball. And again, it doesn't guarantee it. But if you don't see that and go, damn, that looked different, that felt different, they were seeing the ball better, their cuts were better, their contact was better. And with the exception of Friday night against Doyle, it had been trending that way somewhat. So, they scored runs against Kentucky. It'll be interesting to see if they can follow this up, because I think they've got a new lease on life based on how last weekend went mentally. And we've seen them struggle all year, in my opinion, mentally, right?
Yep.
Like they just looked in the tank so much. So what does the opposite feeling do for them? We'll see.
Billy, considering the gauntlet that is still left on their schedule, and they're all must-wins, I get that, but I don't know how realistic that is in the SEC. But considering the hope that is attached to this past weekend, and you've got South Carolina coming to your place, like 2 steps forward, you need to take another 2 steps forward against a South Carolina team that you should beat at home if you're playing that level of baseball.
Yeah, and that's the if. Are they going to continue playing that level of baseball? And I'm going to tell you, like things like errors and mistakes in the field, those tend to become less too when you're hitting better and you're feeling better. You're playing from ahead, or you're a run or two behind, but it's not the end of the world and you're not pressing. So if they can continue to, we said it all year, if two things, like can they get Sorrell back and can they get the bats going? And we expected both to happen, and it's just the surprise is that it's taken this long. That was what was surprising to, I think, everyone around the country, not just us covering A&M over here. And I think everyone around the country has been so surprised that the bats have taken so long to wake up. Well, you heard Vitello say if they want to underestimate those guys, just look at the top three in the lineup. And no, I think confidence is obviously a massive thing in all sports, but I always say baseball and golf, to me, sit 1-2. I mean, look, you want to see confidence, look no further than A&M basketball and how those shooting woes extend to the free throw line. And then once they start missing them, how they could be games where they miss 12, 15, 20 free throws. And then other times, some of those guys that are the same ones missing them look good. It's baseball and golf to me are the two most mental games. And right now, A&M should be faring really well on that side of things. And you just have to keep that going. I mean, they have if they sweep Missouri and South Carolina, which, again, South Carolina, it's a tough sweep, okay? But if they sweep South Carolina and Mizzou, any sweep's tough, 6-0 in those games, you still have to go 4-5 on the road at Arkansas, on the road at Texas, home against LSU, just to get to 13 wins. That's if you sweep them, which means you have to win one of those three series. So they still have a long road ahead, but if they keep hitting like they did this weekend, and they're capable of beating any team. But that's a big if, because we saw it, we've seen it kind of ramping up, like I said, so there's a reason for a little optimism. But they got to sustain that, and they got to come home and keep seeing the ball like they did in Knoxville at Bluebell this weekend.
Billy, were you surprised by some of the, opinions on social after, enjoying a good weekend for Aggie baseball? It was weird that, you can state a fact, which is, they got bigger fish to fry than winning, occasional series against the number one team. But for a weekend, it was fun. It was needed. and it gives us a chance to think of the what if.
No, I mean, certain people are just miserable. Some on the site, and that one, everybody knows who they are. On social media, there's just this little level now of these little burner accounts, and if you wanted to take 2 minutes, it doesn't take much time, and you just look at who they are and where they're coming from, and they get really upset that I tweet back and forth with a Longhorn female really burns them up. It ruins their day. And they think it greatly upsets them, which is great. I'm fine with that. I'm also fine with how much it upsets them if you say anything positive. What is the common denominator there? They're triggered emotionally by something so simple and basic. They just want to hate and smash on anything that people are just, acting friendly, being positive, and they do not like that in any capacity because they're neither of those things. And so they create burners. If you look, David, and one of the guys I'm regularly like, come by the office, let's go have lunch, let's talk. You sound very upset. You multiple times a day are worried about what I say, who I'm talking to, what my opinions are. It's ineffective, as you know, and anyone who knows me knows it's ineffective. Just because I reply, it's not that it's effective. It's just I got time to reply. Like, let's go. Probably we'll start doing that less because they're not like normal people like that. They think that's like some kind of badge of honor, whereas most of us go about our day when we're not on that app. But to me, man, it's like this subculture of, I think, the scourge of the A&M fan base, where they think, like, I get part of the psyche, which is this isn't good enough. We've said this a million times. I don't understand where the disconnect is. This isn't good enough. We can say it. We can write it. We can critique poor performances. And I mean any Aggie. But it's like, if you go to the game and cheer, you're doing the wrong thing. Texas A&M has never, and this is 12 hours after they beat number one in baseball. It's been a long year, and we've talked about why it's been a long year. We've talked about how that's not acceptable. We've talked about if things don't change, who knows what's going to happen at season's end. All those things are on the table. They're being discussed. But if you tweet or write, and there was even a thread on the board, oh, Billy, this is not it, man. This is not. Texas A&M in their history have never beaten the number one team in a series, right? Ever.
Right.
Okay. I think that's accurate.
That's accurate,
I saw that. Texas A&M had never beaten number one in basketball, right?
Correct.
Okay, so in a span of a month, Aggie Athletics did two things they'd never done, which is defeat number one in in basketball and baseball. Pretty significant and interesting that they both happened in a month. And I think I said fun. That's really, championships matter most, and we know that it's first and foremost. But just a couple of really cool moments in the last month for A&M fans, players, and coaches. 1,000% true. Unless you're one of those fans that didn't enjoy that because, you were pissed. You enjoyed the Auburn game. If you didn't enjoy it, it was because you were predicting that they were going to lose to Texas in a couple weeks later and lose in the second round. Even if you were predicting that, why would you not enjoy that night of beating number one and Wade's shirt? Like really cool moments. And nowhere else was it said anything about. We all know what we've said and think about how the basketball season ended. We all know what we said and think about how this baseball season's gone, but people just want to, they're just like rage addicts is what I would describe these people as. And if you really take 2 seconds to look them up, a lot of them just live on that app. A lot of them live, they coexist with each other. Like you can see like the same 5 or 6. My suspicion is multiple of them are in a group chat together and they just sit there and as what they say on the boards the other day. They smell each other's farts all day on the group chat. I mean, it's basically where we're at with this. So, yeah, like Aggie fans on our forum, I think do a good job of it. And I think social media-wise, people just generally don't have time for it. Like, you're like, I'm not just going to go back and forth. Most people aren't like me in that regard. But when you walk down the streets and you see real people, 99% of the Aggies are not like that. And they can be pissed about the results, and they can be pissed about the lack of championships, and they can be frustrated because they don't have like a lot of hope in whatever they choose to not have hope in. And all of those things, based on our recent and even all-time history, David, are completely understandable. That's normal sports frustration when you look at the results versus what's being put into it, right? That's normal sports frustration. But to never allow yourself, and really more than that, to chastise anyone else who wants to take some kind of enjoyment, like, hey, if the Aggies go on a 3-weekend winning streak where they win the series against Tennessee and they beat South Carolina, and then they go beat a top 5 team 2 out of 3 next weekend, I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to remain hopeful while also saying, hey, they dug themselves such a damn hole, it's going to be really hard to come out of. But they're playing better ball, and all of a sudden I've got a little hope and optimism heading into some of these brutal road series. So it's to each their own until you start attacking anyone with a differing view than you. And I think a lot of this goes back to politics, man. And that's not a right or a left. That's politics and what they've become through these elections on social media. People just think it's normal to crap on anything positive. Period. Well, so Billy, that's where I'm at with all of it.
Let me add to that before we hit a break. I also think it's what the Stephen A. Smiths and the Skip Baylesses of the world, people want to have these definitive takes, right? And they won't change their mind about LeBron or their mind about this or that. And we at TexAgs have typically taken I don't want to say wait and see, but like let's get all the information, right? Like your opinions are allowed to evolve. If it's Bucky ball, if it's the Chris Beard situation, if it's Coach Earley, if it's whatever it may be, let's look at what we have right now and let that evolve. And people want a definitive take, and that's it. You can't jump off. You have to jump off the ledge. Like you can't change your mind. And I think we're allowed to change our mind, and new information can kind of change the way we look at something.
You're right. And first of all, that doesn't change the fact that just attacking people for a differing opinion than you, whether it's too much optimism, whether it's not enough, it's not the way to be. But it's acceptable these days, and those sports talk shows kind of fuel that as well, and the hot takes all over Instagram and Twitter. But here's the thing: you nailed it too. These are the same people that were probably when A&M was 7-1. That were, it was a great chance to crap on Connor Wigman and say that Marcel Reed was going to win a Heisman Trophy. Well, after they beat LSU, these are the same people that are out there. I bet if you looked that up, these are the same people that built A&M and Marcel up. Again, they went extreme the other way, only to a month later be tearing down Marcel and Elko. That's when I say the subculture, that's what I'm talking about. It's just these wild highs and wild lows, and damn anyone that has a differing opinion, and damn anyone that's consistent, damn anyone that's playing wait and see, damn anyone that's not ready to, tout this team as a playoff team, whatever it may be. That's where you're at with it. So, I mean, you saw the same deal. You're seeing it right now with Bucky McMillan. I've seen certain accounts that just trash the hire when it happened, and literally within 24 to 48 hours, they're now, those same accounts are talking it up. Hey, I'm starting to really like that. I mean, and that's fine. Like, I agree. Like, the more you learn about Bucky McMillan, and I think after today in this press conference, we'll talk about it in a second, people are going to get more and more fired up, and that's fine. But why the need to trash the hire and trash the process and say A&M, doesn't swing for the fences when you were the same one saying this Beard deal's done. Like, there's just so much hypocrisy in it all. And it really is just riding an absolute roller coaster of emotion all day, every day. And again, it's a lot easier to do on social media than you do in your real life. Because imagine if some people acted like that in real life, how miserable not only themselves, but everyone else would be. They don't. They tend to be much more normal away from their cell phones.
All right, Billy, let's talk about the next order of business for Bucky McMillan. We'll talk about the presser. We'll talk about the staff that he's putting together and also the recruiting that's going on. We'll do that on the other side. We'll hit a break. We'll get back to Billy Liucci here on TexAgs Live. Right now, if you're looking for a reason to move back to Aggieland, what's taking you so long, hopefully you can come join us and live here, maybe even get a great job. The Association of Former Students might be a great place to land because they typically have lots of openings, sometimes in fundraising, sometimes in sales, communications, wherever it may be, marketing, you name it. They are the premier alumni association, and they've been serving the Aggie Network for over 140 years. They play a part in every Aggie story from howdy to here. Don't miss opportunities to help out with Aggie social hours, with Aggie Ring Day, class reunions, you name it, Aggie muster, and everything in between. Join a team that exemplifies those Aggie core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service, all in support of that worldwide Aggie Network. So if you're interested in joining the team or maybe passing it on to someone who could be a great fit, please visit tx.ag/association jobs to apply and get more information on each position. It is the Association of Former Students. We're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go back to the Buffy's Catering Hotline. Billy Liucci still with us. Billy, so Bucky Ball will have that press conference later on today, but some of the news over the last, 24, 36 hours has been the additions to his staff. Kyle Keller is going to be joining him here, and also Mitch Cole, a couple names that were here during the Billy Kennedy years.
Mitch Cole and Kyle Keller, both of them, and two guys I know. I spoke to Keller yesterday. He was fired up to be driving in this morning. One is not just a good, but an elite recruiter, particularly a Texas talent, but also this is a guy that's now, like most in college basketball, fully embraced the portal. I think he's going to be a huge addition in terms of getting A&M players here on short, in this shortened window. I think you'll see Keller's going to be a huge asset. They needed someone like that on staff, and I'm going to be really interested to see how the rest of it rounds out. And as for Mitch Cole, he goes so far back with Bucky McMillan. I was just speaking to somebody last night familiar with both of them, and a lot of Aggies, myself included, are familiar with Coach Cole, but was at Alabama Birmingham years and years ago with a legendary head coach there. Rebel, I believe is his name, the legendary head coach there. That was Mitch Cole was an assistant, and Bucky McMillan was a player there. This was a couple of years after he had come into Reed Arena with UAB, not Bucky, but Mitch Cole, and they came into Reed Arena and put a 24-point beat down, unfortunately, on my old roomie at the time, Brian Brookhart, and the Aggies. They lost by, it might have been Melvin Watkins' final season. It certainly wasn't a Billy Clyde team, but it was during Melvin's era, and they lost by 24 to UAB. I remember being at that game, and UAB it was a dunk fest, and they were pressing and trapping and breakaway dunks, and it was just like A&M was just not equipped to handle it. Now, that was bad A&M team, but I think, I'm saying Alabama, Birmingham. I meant Birmingham Southern. Birmingham Southern, it was not even close to UAB, but Birmingham Southern came in here and stomped A&M, and I think they might have been, I don't know what level of basketball they were. It might have been like, at one point they were Division III. I don't know. You'd have to look that up and see what level that was, but they came in here and smashed the Aggies, and they did it by playing that aggressive attacking style that the Aggie guards and bigs could not handle. Fast forward to a few years ago in Oklahoma City, Mitch Cole was the one calling those presses that gave Northern Iowa fits in the closing minute that led directly to the greatest comeback probably in A&M sports history against Northern Iowa there to advance, Caruso and House and company getting to the Sweet 16. That was Mitch Cole calling those presses and in the trap there in the corner. And guess what? That is Birmingham Southern. That is Samford. That is Bucky Ball. That was quite literally their press that Texas A&M ran in that game, and that's kind of a little quick history of Mitch Cole and Bucky McMillan, and how it ties into A&M. Interestingly enough.
Well, Bill, we have if we break here, we'll be on time. Let's hit a break, and then on the other side, a little bit deeper into Bucky, and also I want to get into the NCAA championship game tonight. So we'll do that on the other side. Talking to Billy Liucci here on TexAgs Live on the Buffy's Catering Hotline. Talking Bird Dog right now. Aggie owner and operated partners here at TexAgs. They're our friends there. Jonathan Lusk and the team do an awesome job setting up your hunts for you. If you are looking to get an awesome weekend away or just a couple days with your buddies to go hunting, let Bird Dog and the team take care of you. They handle all the logistics, all the planning, private chef, you name it. They can do a lot of add-ons. That's part of what they do. The other part is making money on tax benefits. And right now, hey, tax season is here. Tax benefits, let them take care of you. They can find you that money that you haven't thought of. Some of their clients are making an extra $100 to $500 per acre of land. They can be your personal consultant. They can help you maximize the income on your land. If you're a rancher or a broker, you need to talk to them as they can help your buyer or seller understand the additional ways to make some money. Remember Bird Dog for all of your full-service hunting needs. They'll take care of that. And remember them to make money on your ranch. The website is birddogit.com, birddogit.com. And we're back on TexAgs Live. Let's go back to the Buffy's Catering Hotline. Billy Liucci still with us, executive editor, co-owner of TexAgs. Billy, now the presser happens later today, and the real work begins for Coach Bucky McMillan, where he's going to have to put together a roster. And I have weird thoughts about putting a roster together this late in the game. It can be done. It also seems like it's going to take a certain type of player to really fit into the system, and he can be very selective. So just let's talk about the kind of players he's going to have to get to make this roster come to fruition.
Well, that's a pretty broad question. That's a tough one to answer. I mean, you're going to have to, first of all, I mean, to run this style that they're going to run, you're just going to have to find, I think, a collection of real athletes, like long, athletic. Obviously, there's a DNA thing he's going to be looking for in terms of their mental makeup, their heart, their desire to play hard and just go out there and be dogs for 40 minutes. That's going to be, that's an interesting one to have to do in short order, because, for different reasons, the reason guys like, Boots and Henry and Andy Garcia and Solo were like kind of perfect for the style of play Buzz wanted to play. It's a completely different style for Bucky McMillan, but the similarity is that they're looking for a real specific type. But I think the common thread is to go find athletes and scorers and shooters. And obviously that's easier said than done. Those guys are in such high demand. I saw some people say they thought could see like a half dozen, 5, 6 guys from Samford coming over with them. I don't see that. I think folks understand like the level of where the SEC's at right now, what it takes. So I think you could see, a couple that would be really interested in, a couple, 3, like a smaller number. It wouldn't shock me at all. And just you do that also if you can, just I think for culture purposes, just people that know and understand, because so it's not only coming from coaches, but it can be coming from your teammates as well as you're trying to implement a system, a culture, a way of doing things, a way of practicing, a way of carrying yourself off the court, yada, yada. So I would expect a little bit of that, but not a lot. I'll go on record as saying that. But yeah, I mean, these guys, one thing I was told by someone that's known Bucky forever yesterday was coach doesn't sleep, and most of us don't sleep that are in. So I've found in my experience that tends to be a good thing. I think of people like Billy Gillespie. I think of people like Dan Campbell. These, John Gruden was famous for that. These coaches that just get in there and grind, nonstop, 365 days a year. And listen, that's what it's going to take right now is working around the clock to try to find and get players. And that's already begun. I mean, that was going on. That hire became official on Saturday. That might, they might have been sensing it was going in that direction by Friday and started thinking, but certainly by Saturday.
Talking to Billy Liucci on TexAgs Live. Billy, the game tonight, it's kind of weird because I had them playing in the championship game when I did my brackets. I got 97% of it wrong, but that part I got right. U of H and Florida. My gut says Florida's going to win. I think Florida's going to win because that's who I picked. But this U of H story, man, is super intriguing, and maybe because it feels like what we saw with Buzzball on steroids, right? Like the way Buzz's team kind of just grinded victories, but this team can shoot. They have the will to win at the end. Like they are a fun bunch to watch if you love college basketball.
It's interesting. You wonder how far they could have gone last year. That they lost their star player to injury against Duke. They were going to win that game. It certainly felt like U of H was the better player. And then he went down, left for the NBA, and they have not missed a beat. And it's a lot of the same guys that killed A&M last year in that game, where the Aggies got it to overtime. It kind of felt like that Duke-Houston game where U of H was in total control for most of that game. They just kind of had A&M at arm's length the whole game there in Memphis. And then it was the point differential and time when that rally started were very similar to what you saw the other night. The difference was Houston closed it out in regulation. A&M, it went to overtime, and then it just went bad for the Aggies. But it was similar. But watching that game the other day, you're going, man, it's all these guys that were such a problem for the Aggies. It was Jawan Roberts, it was Sharp and hitting those threes, and it just, you realize how good these guys, I mean, like, they've been around, they play as hard as anyone in the sport. I think they're going to win. I think U of H is going to win the national title that eluded them in, was it 83 or 84, all those years ago. 40 years ago now, you see Olajuwon at the game and stuff. It just feels to me like this is U of H's game. And I think they're going to find a way to make Clayton less effective. And if they do that, if they're able to do that, then, I think that really crushes Florida's hopes. I mean, they are a defensive, absolutely a juggernaut on that end of the floor. And it changes kind of how these teams play basketball. And I was really impressed with Duke. I mean, you're sitting there going, Duke is handling these guys just fine. And then to see where it went was pretty shocking, I think, for everybody. But again, that team, you mentioned, like, that they just don't quit. And if you don't enjoy watching that group play, you just, for whatever reason, don't like the Houston Cougars or Kelvin Sampson, because that is how I think the whole country saw what's been going on for years and years. I think they would have had a real shot to win the national title last year had things gone a certain way. Had they gone a certain way, had they not had one injury to their best player.
Really interestingly, Todd Golden, he's 39 years old. Kelvin Sampson, 69 years old. Todd Golden, kind of like blueprint of what we're seeing from Bucky McMillan. Kelvin Sampson, a guy who's just grinded through different programs. I think his first head coach job was in the early 80s. So, like, just two different types of stories vying for the same thing, the future generation of basketball and the old generation.
Yeah, it is interesting, right? It's really interesting. And there's going to come a point probably soon where Kelvin Sampson calls it up, and then they go that kind of try to blend old and new with his son Kellen. So, but yeah, I mean, he's been building up towards this for so long. I remember him, at the Indiana days. I remember the Oklahoma days. I remember, playing against A&M. I remember, actually the other day I was talking to Kevin Sumlin, and Kevin Sumlin said, yeah, I was at Washington State when he was there. I was like, I forgot Kelvin Sampson was even at Washington State. But yeah, he's like, I was there. He was just getting going, Washington State, before OU hired him away. Kelvin Sampson was, I don't know if he said little kid or born or whatever it was, but yeah, he's been doing it a long time. I'm rooting for them. I'm rooting for Houston. I'm rooting for the Cougars. I'm rooting for, my dad went, we're from up New York. So, my dad went to NYU. As soon as we moved to Texas, he was getting his master's, working for Brown and Root back in the day. When we first moved to Texas, and going to school at night to get his master's. And I still occasionally get the mistaken William Liucci letter from the UH alumni. So they keep sending him to College Station, thinking I'm a Coug. But so I guess an honorary Cougar. I grew up in Houston, run and shoot, Phi Slamma Jamma. So there's some nostalgia there for me. I'm rooting for them. No offense to Chris Doring, Laura Rutledge, Tebow and company. They've got a lot of star power in the media over there at Florida. Not to mention Aaron Andrews and Jen Brown. I mean, they're like Florida's like the media capital of college sports, but we're going for the Cougs tonight.
Billy, from your conversations with folks that know college basketball, what are you hearing from, like, coaches, assistants about Bucky? Like, because we got the initial thoughts, and you look at the resume, you start feeling better about it. You see the brand of basketball. But what do you think? Like college basketball insiders, coaches, scouts, what are they saying?
Well, I think when you listen to the tone of what they say, it's like reverential tone in which they speak of Bucky McMillan. I've not heard people from everywhere talk about one person the way they do Bucky McMillan. It's really interesting. And again, I really haven't heard it like this before. So I'm fascinated by it, and I'm fascinated to learn as time goes on why. Because I've been doing this a long time. And not just A&M coaches, but coaches at other places and stuff. And when the consensus, when everyone says almost exactly the same thing, and again, like, it's not just me. You guys can look this stuff up. Like, go read what's said. Go watch what Bill Self said about him. Go watch what Will Wade said about him. Go, read the quotes. Listen to what Nate Oates said. Go and again, like I said, people around in and around Birmingham, people around Alabama. He could have had the Vandy job last year. You saw some things saying, hey, if Beard goes to A&M, watch for Bucky McMillan at Ole Miss. And then anyone you talk to would have told you he's not leaving Birmingham. He's been there his whole life. And if Alabama or Auburn open up, he'll be probably the favorite to land not one of those jobs, but either one of them. So that's just how he's thought of and talked about there. And I think people are going to see that today. And a lot of it, from what I've told, is just he's never changed it up. He's never changed up how he treats. He's going to treat. You're going to see him around town. He's going to treat A&M fans the same as he will like fans that come up to him at a restaurant. He's going to stand up and talk to them at the table. He's going to, and again, people could say what you want, and like, this is how it works. If there's some jackass listening right now who's a miserable SOB that, if they lose games in year one, he's but he'll stand up and shake your hand at the table. My man, that is a good thing. And it doesn't mean you're going to win games, but it is some small piece of just explaining, like, this guy is genuine. That comes across in recruiting. That comes across in getting the most out of your players. I think it's refreshing, and I think it's one small component, but one of the things is just his ability to kind of make everyone feel important. And if you followed sports long enough, you know that is a trait that a lot of really successful coaches share. You don't have to be like that to be successful. I totally get that, and we all know that. And you can be like that, and it doesn't guarantee success. But I'm just saying, I think there's a high percentage of those types where that's a underrated component, is just the ability to get along with anyone, the ability to make anyone and everyone feel important. And I think that translates into especially recruiting, but B, also to drum up fan support, and C, to get the most out of your players individually. Because it tells me you understand that you've got a basketball team of, say, 15 guys. They're all different. They're all motivated differently. They're all respond to different types of discipline and criticism. And that stuff matters. And I think that personality trait, if I'm saying what do I prefer, that's it. And then, oh, by the way, this dude's going to recruit the students.
Got to drop it there, Billy.
He's going to recruit the students and the donors, Nuño.
Thank you, buddy. We'll have 30 seconds on the other side. I'll talk to you later on today. All right, bye. TexAgs Live. Final segment of the program. It's really not a full segment. TexAgs Live presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Do you got one final comment, Carter, at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center to give us?
Yeah, so Barry on YouTube.
Hey, Barry.
Was talking about Barry. He said, Slosh left us with no team and Early fixed it. Buzz left us with no team, and now Bucky will fix that. Never quit. I agree. Never quit.
Yeah. I mean, you're not allowed to quit.
No.
When you think about it, like, it's not even an option. Like, you still got to play the games.
Imagine. Yeah.
I'm just gonna quit. I agree with you, but anywho. I just hope the start of the season next year, without the roster that we know of, isn't as difficult. All right, that's going to do it for TexAgs Live. Let me talk about Milliken Reserve before I tell you what's on the show tomorrow. Milliken Reserve is a farm-to-table community in College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got farms. They got wide open spaces. Their mission is to build a healthy community around nature. They've committed to treading lightly on the land that you can find Milliken Reserve on. When you go there, you can go kayaking, equestrian trails are there. You can go hiking, biking, you name it, fishing. Such a cool place to hang out with your family. You don't even have to live there. You can just go and enjoy being in the outdoors, and we highly recommend that you do that. They provide a natural setting for people to connect and come together. An extensive network of trails throughout a wooded landscape. We're talking an awesome place to connect with your family. And the real estate, fantastic as well. You can learn more at millikenreserve.com. That is millikenreserve.com. All right, so tomorrow on the program, you don't say that right now. I don't know. I do know Josh Pate will be on the program. I'm looking forward to having Josh on the show. Who else do we have? Oh, Shireen. Shireen the Dream. She's usually on Tuesdays. Wait, you don't got anything else for me? But Carter's over. Show's over. We're done. That's how I prepare you. That's the tease. We'll see you mañana.